Are you ready to switch up the vibe in your beats? Today we're diving into a cool trick, which is changing the grid to triplets. This simple tweak transforms the rhythm, creating a rushing feel that's perfect for elements like hi-hats. Let's explore the power of triplets and elevate your beats. While we're talking about hi-hats, there's another interesting method. You can use this for anything, but I definitely would use this predominantly for hi-hats or maybe even a snare. There's another way of setting this grid. Now, something that you've noticed is that when I've been drawing things in, Ableton Live has been cleaning this up and rounding it up to the nearest beat or the nearest segment, which is why we have them there. So it kind of safeguards things so that they're always rhythmically in time. They're tethered to the same BPM as the entire project. It just keeps things in line and it's just one less thing to think about. But you can also change it so that we can have something called a triplet grid. Now, the triplet grid means that the measurements are different. So rather than these 4 to a bar, look what happens when I change it to the triplet grid. So now we have this slightly, you can see it against where the hi-hats are. Triplet grids is basically 3 to a beat. So as you can see here, there's a measure of 3 between 1.4 and like 1.4.2 there. It's now changed it so there's 3s. So over here, if I program these triplet sounds in, you're going to hear quite a rushing feel. It's like a push and pull feel between the other hi-hats that are programmed against 4x4. I also know that I'm in triplet mode because sometimes I have forgotten. Because down here, remember where it shows us the 1/16th, you can see now it says 1/16th with a T at the end. So it's in 16th mode, but triplet mode. So that's another thing to double check when you're like, why is my grid behaving differently? It's a reminder that we're in triplet mode. So let's listen to how these hi-hats sound when we get to them here. It's almost like a gallop, isn't it? Like that. It's just a nice way of spicing up and just creating a bit more interesting flows to your rhythms as well. So triplet grid's great for that. You can, of course, use it for anything, but you can find that it gets quite overwhelming if you're using it on things like kicks. I can show you here. Can be cool, but I would use it sparingly. Otherwise, it does start to take up an awful lot of the sonic space of the track. So yeah, definitely it's more preferable to use it on, I'm just pressing undo here, which I do a lot. It's preferable to kind of keep it towards the higher, less imposing elements of your beat, unless you're really making something that's definitely trying to sort of push the boundaries in that sense. Freedom, of course, but it's just my advice. If you enjoyed the video, you can tap the link below and become a Saffron member to get some deeper insights into your music production.